Good day, everybody, wherever you are. Today, I just thought about sharing something with you. It's my thoughts on some of the worldly matters. We all have heard about the Jewish Holocaust, where during the Hitler's Nazi regime, whichever way you say it, uh, over 6 million people, Jewish people, men, women, and children, was, were tortured and starved to death and sent to gas chambers. And in short, 6 million Jewish people died in the Hitler's Nazi camp. That we know. It's There's always uh, another part to that story. While this happened in Germany, it is said in Russia, Joseph Stalin killed over 20 million. Uh, and It is considered 20 million is a conservative number. It's over 20 million, but estimated to be no less than 20 million people. But we only talk about the Nazi Hitler's killings of the Jews, and so whatever that may be, that's history, and it's widely acknowledged. At the same time, we those are the biggest genocides ever in human history, probably to our knowledge. But then in the recent years, in the last 2 decades, there had been similar genocides. Maybe uh, it's given not given enough prominence. We'll look at uh, two genocides that happened in the last 20 years or so. In beginning 1994, lasting 100 days in Rwanda, Africa, a genocide of the notorious uh, genocide took place, and it is uh, it is based on ethnic conflicts, and Rwanda has been, or in the past has been, a colony of Belgium. So when Rwanda gained independence in 1962, the ethnic majority Hutus were left in power. And the Hutu rule resulted in widespread discrimination in Tutsi, the minority community, laying the groundwork for the 1994 genocide, where it is estimated no less than 1 million people, children, young men, women, elderly, without without any consideration, were murdered in cold blood, with machetes. Children, babies were slaughtered. I don't know how human beings can have such hatred in their minds, in their hearts. It is almost not even someone who is psychotic could do that mentally, who is sick to a point where humanity is not there in them anymore. But these are human beings. So that's uh, that's Rwanda, the the genocide in Rwanda in 1994. Now we'll uh, we'll get to another genocide where I have some direct knowledge about it, and we'll talk about it in a moment. The Belgian colony Rwanda, the genocide, uh, where the majority, the Tutsi and the Hutus, ended up resulted in 1 million deaths, innocent men, women, and children, including babies, has a striking resemblance to another genocide that happened in 2009 in a civil war in order to quell the rebellion in this Indian ocean known as Sri Lanka. The resemblance, again, Rwanda has been the Belgian colony. We had the majority Tutsi and minority Hutu, and here it's the same scenario. Independence. It was Sri Lanka was known as Ceylon during the British. It has been successively uh, ruled by different colonial powers back 1500 year in the 1500s. Portuguese invaded then Ceylon. It wasn't Ceylon, it was known by some other name. That island is known by umpteen number of names at different times. I don't know what the Portuguese called, but it was a different name, but still at modern day, present day Sri Lanka. Portuguese set foot in the soil of Sri Lanka back in 1505, in the year 1505. They almost, I think, ruled close to, not quite, but ruled around 100 years. And then they were defeated by the Dutch, the Hollanders. Holland took over, and that's how the Western religions came into the country. It was predominantly a Buddhist, Buddhist majority Buddhist, minority Hindus. So the majorities were known as the Sinhalese, and the minorities were known as the Tamils. Tamils are an ethnic population in the southern part of India, and today they have 63 million in the southern tip of southern southern part of India, and it's known as Tamil Nadu, and 63 million, and it's surrounded by the other states. As you know, India is when you talk about India, it's more like talking about Europe. It's not, although it goes as one nation, one country. It's so many. It's made up of so many different states. If you to compare and contrast, fortunately in US we have 50 states, but all 50 states, they are unified by one language, English language, American English. But in India it's not so. They have subject to correction. They have 28 states, and each state has their own language, distinctly different language, not even a dialect. There's totally different language, 28 different languages, and then there is conflict where in the part where it's known as Kashmir, and they want to be independent. India is claiming, and Pakistan is claiming that that's a whole different saga. But so the Northerners are said to be have come from. They are known as they are referred to as Aryans. I mean, Hitler referred to his race as the white race as Aryan, but the Northern Indians, they have uh, they are in some, I guess, in one way or the other, they are linked to the Indo-Iranian race, Zoroastrians, the ancient Persians are. Uh, there was they were there was this community known as Zoroastrians, and the religion they followed was uh, Zoroastrianism, and they worshipped fire, and fire is considered to be holy. And if you see the North Indian rituals, the Brahminic ritual, it's always a fire. They light a fire, and they chant the mantras and whatnot, and fire is considered to be burning down all evil, and unfortunately fire not only burns evil, it burns everything, it burns good too. But anyway, fire is considered to be holy, and in every Hindu ritual, the Brahminic ritual, which was introduced to the uh, the tribal native Indians who were pushed from the north to the southern part of India. And so there are like five ethnicities: Tamils, Telugu, uh, Malayalam, Kannada, and I think there's a very small percentage known as Tulu. And the famous actress, Miss Universe or Miss World, Aishwarya Rai. Everybody in this part of the world who are into movies and celebrity news would know. If you talk about India, either they know Gandhi or they would know someone like Aishwarya Rai, nothing else, right? It's sometimes it's so parochial. Most of them have not even stepped out of United States, no, not been in a plane, so their view of the world is very parochial. Not trying to be cynical, but then that's that's what it is. Uh, and I don't have the slightest intention to hurt anybody's sentiments. I try to be neutral. Like I said, I like to consider myself an impartial observer, an independent witness to the events happening around the world based on what I see, right or wrong, subject to, I stand corrected. I try to say what strikes me as uh, something that people should know. With this, in this digital era, this is a great way to share information, provided it is accurate. We don't want to spread false information. And if I do, that's not intentional. Please correct me. Uh, that said, yeah, we are getting back. So Aishwarya Rai is from the Tulu community. I, that's the only person I know from that community. I never met anybody from that community. Uh, so the Tamil community, the Tamil language is said to be the oldest language, and there is debate uh, about which is the oldest language in the world, whether it's Sanskrit, which is a dead language, or Tamil, which is a vibrant language to this day. Unfortunately, the British colonialism has left the British influence, and the Indians have created their own India English in that part of the world mixed with the native languages. And in South India, they kind of that the Tamil today is uh, so mixed up with English phrases, and for no reason they use English phrases where they are, whereas Tamil is adequately rich language, and almost anything, it's a very poetically rich language. Almost anything can be said. Maybe certain phonetics of sounds, the Sanskrit or English language uh, could be enunciated in English, or Sanskrit may not come out accurately in Tamil, but otherwise Tamil is a fully evolved, fully fledged language. For no reason, the South Indian Tamils create a lingo called, they speak Tamil, they refer to, sarcastically refer to it as Tanglish. It's a mixture of Tamil and English unnecessarily. Anyway, that's my, it's not my cynicism, but it's my grievance perhaps. A language should not become that corrupted, and there's no reason to look up to a colonial master so much because they are advanced. It's by all means learn all the language, but do not denigrate your own language, whatever language other languages you speak. Every language is rich in its own way. That's it. Okay, we are getting back. So There are five southern states. You could almost see the differences. The southerners are more darker skin, more tribal looking, and the northerners are more. They are from the region of the the infiltration, the immigration waves of immigration originated from the Afghan, Iranian, but then Persian region. So you will see the native population, the looks, though it's not uh, uh, very prominent, but there are even in the appearance, the Southern Indians look different. The most Southern Indians are dark complexioned, dark skinned, but you have lots of light skinned Southern Indians too. And there is a recent, in the last 15 years, there had been so many excavations that shows the Roman and Greek uh, involvement or infiltration into the southern part of India, where they married or they they lived in that part of India. This is way before the world was created. By that I mean the world was created according to the Western religions in year 6025. So that's before that there was no world. But then today we have excavations in Ethiopia, in countries like in the the skulls and the artifacts, the fossils discovered in Ethiopia. I forgot the name of the location, but it's in Ethiopia. Goes back to 150 years, 150,000 years. So that's way before the timeline we follow by the Western standards, 6025, the Lord Almighty created, but before that, human skulls fossils have been found in Ethiopia and Morocco, uh, in Russia, Denisovan caves, in Crimean caves. They date back to 28, uh, 28,000 years. Uh, so that's how long ago these fossils were found, human fossils. We're not talking about the Homo sapiens of that or anything like that. We are talking about fully evolved human beings having lived at that time 28,000 years ago. So it's a fallacy in the Western religious timeline, but we follow it as history. People who spoke about it tried to contradict this view, were also incurred the wrath of Vatican scientists, Galileo, Copernicus, you name them, and there's so many, right? And so that's that. So that's another area. We are trying to get to the second Holocaust during our time that happened in Sri Lanka in 2009. Uh, what's really happened in Sri Lanka? It's very the stark resemblance of the origin of this Holocaust between Rwanda, which was under the Belgian government until is it 1964, I believe. It was a colony of Belgium, and Sri Lanka was a colony of Britain until 1948, and then the British left. Uh, and when the British ruled, they they ruled with the iron fist, and so there was no ethnic conflict. The language of the country was English, British English. The medium of education was English. One good thing about we need to give the uh, credit where it's due. The British educated the natives. They built some of the missionary schools and some of the best schools, and Sri Lanka has one of the best education standards. I mean, they simulated the British education system, uh, especially in science. You still have the O levels and A levels. The 95% of the syllabus is the British, uh, but it's taught in the native language. That's a digression now. So, British ruled until 1948. India, Gandhi. We in the Western world we only know one Gandhi. That's Mahatma Gandhi, the saintly man whose whose life started in South Africa, although he was Indian born. He was a barrister, went to under the British rule, went to England, became a lawyer, and there are a lot of Indians in South Africa. So uh, he was living in South Africa trying to practice law. So when the apartheid or the racism to this day is so uh, how could you say this, so unbelievable, couldn't find the right word. uh, I, I, I could say despicable, I could say abominable. Gandhi was kicked out of the train because he was a colored man by a white man. So Gandhi fell off the train, and it occurred to him that I'm going to teach this arrogant ruling class, obnoxious, don't want to use any word, uh, bleep bleep, uh, a lesson. So he goes back to India, and he witnesses what's going on. It's ruled by the British, and how the British treat and they treat the Indians really bad. Uh, of course, Indians are rustic, and they even at the time when they want to they they had a system that's not the British didn't introduce, but even in the olden days, in the times of kings and queens, they used to carry a palanquin. Yeah, the the men carry usually it's women. Sometimes if a man who doesn't feel like he's a man would would want to sit in a palanquin, and uh, the men carry. Usually, India is embroiled with a nasty caste system introduced by the Brahmins who came to India from the northern part, driving the natives in India to the southern India. So they introduced the so-called the Vedic religion. Later, the British called it the Hindu religion because there's a river called Hindu River, sometimes known as Sindhu River. So people who settled down in the banks of Hindu River, and they followed a certain religion. They practiced a certain religion, and they did conveniently named it, or the British called it Hinduism, because it just was practiced around the banks of Hindu River. That's what the history is telling us. Again, like history, what is history? Not everything said in history is accurate. It all depends on who is recording history, and the ones who are recording history would glorify the reigning power, and that record is left behind as factual record of events that happened, and we study the progeny, uh, the the generations that comes after studies this religions, studies these accounts presented to us. So, like Napoleon said, "What is history but an accepted fable?" Yes, it is a fable agreed upon. I've said this over and over in more than one video segment. It's becoming hackneyed now. I should stop saying it. But history can be full of fallacy, but everything concedes. Everybody agrees upon a story. Uh, Interesting, another saying, a Nigerian proverb. And it goes like this. I don't remember exactly, but I'll try to capture the purport. What is it? The saying goes like this: uh, until the lions have their own historians, the history books always will glorify the hunters. I hope you understand that, right? Uh, Lions don't have historians to tell the side of the story, their side of the story. So historians only will glorify the exploits of the hunters, not the sad stories, or not the uh, valiant sto- spirit of the lions. So that's that history. I wanted to go into greater details. We touched on the Rwanda Holocaust. Now we are going to look into the Sri Lankan Tamil Holocaust in detail. The Tamils are a ethnic group who migrated from South India to Sri Lanka from time, I guess, immemorial, but the history goes back to 2,500 years. And the Sinhalese, the majority Sinhalese also migrated from India, but not from the southern region, from the northern regions, from the uh, states known as Bengal. So and so Sinhalese, 2,500 years ago, there is chronicles. They follow three chronicles: Mahavamsa, Deepavamsa, and another one, I guess. Uh, I don't remember what it is, but there are three chronicles, and the Mahavamsa talks about these stories. Sounds like uh, folklore, but that is widely accepted as Sinhalese history. But it's said to have been written by a South Indian Brahmin. Brahmins speak, it's a dead language, Sanskrit, but it's a very powerful language. And indeed, it is a powerful language in terms of sounds and phonetics. And I have problems with my phonetics, and so I hope I'm intelligible enough for you to understand, even if I mispronounce some words. Just bear with me. I'm a mixed bag. So that is about Sanskrit. Tamil is the even the research conducted in Harvard, now Harvard University in Boston. Uh, Even those researchers concede Tamil is the world's oldest language, followed by Sanskrit, and then I don't know the order, but Latin, Hebrew, Greek, so on and so on. And these are some of the oldest language: Hebrew, Latin. Uh, Even Jesus Christ did not speak Hebrew; he spoke a language called Aramaic. It's a dead language now; nobody speaks, but it's said to be a mixture of Hebrew and Arab languages. So that I want to stop right there. I just don't want to make these segments long. Uh, Sri Lankan Holocaust, I want to talk about in the next segment. So let's stop here. Uh, I don't want anything more than 30 minutes. I wanted to confine it to 15 minutes. It's always getting long, but I'll stop right here. Thanks for your patience. Stick with me. We'll get to the next Holocaust that happened right before our eyes. Not, don't take me literally, but during our times. Uh, Only 2000, back in 2009. That's now uh, how many years? It's 12 years now. 12 years ago. Anyways, we'll stop right there. We'll wait for my second segment. We'll see you there. Thanks for your patience.